Alright, how's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of the Suzuki 250, the old one, whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and put the new carburetor on. This is a $35 replacement from eBay, aftermarket. We're gonna see if it's any good. Like I said, the four-wheeler ran with the carburetors on here. Just the choke was all messed up. And so if you're watching this, go back and check out part 1. That's where we fixed the key switch, and I did a little YouTube update. But let's get right to it. Okay, I got y'all in the ceiling view here, so maybe y'all can see something. It's kind of hard to do this unless you got a cameraman. Whatever, first thing, I got my Phillips screwdriver, and the first easy step is remove the carb cap. You can get that out of the way, and you just unscrew it here, pull it out. Your old plunger, needle valve, all that'll be in there. Just set that over here, and then you have the fuel line that's running in over here. You have to get it off. Take the screwdriver and pry it downward, or pliers. Slip it off the carburetor. Not too bad. Okay, and then you have 2 Phillips clamps on here. I can find where the screw is on them. Okay, it's on the other side. So you're going to want to loosen these clamps pretty loose, and try to be careful with this intake boot, because if you're working on one of these, it's probably 35 years old, or however the hell old from 1985 was. And if it's set out in the sun, it's probably pretty dry. It's probably stiff. I'm gonna try to get this off without unplugging this from the airbox, because I've unplugged them from the airbox before, and like you can barely ever get them back on. So I got that hose off, and this hose runs just over the top of the thing, right in the way, but that's how it says in this, on this box right here to do it. I got a vent line right here, which is going somewhere. It's just, look at this, just petrified. Well, it just snapped right there, but that's where all it went, was right about there. And a lot of times, I don't ever put these on if you're not going mud riding, because these dirt divers will go down inside of the line and stop it up, or it'll be stopped up on the back, and you plug it back in and it'll run bad. So a lot of times I don't put a vent line on there unless you know it's already snorkeled, and then you'll have it tied in somewhere. But if you're not, the intake's like right here, level with the carburetor, so you're never going to be able to go in water deeper than the carburetor for the vent to go underwater. So it don't matter if you leave it open, it's just going to open on the other end of the hose. So that's not really a big deal. And I really wish this would have had 2 bolts to get it out of the way, but they didn't. I didn't put them there, so I'm going to try to do this without, like I said, pulling this boot off back here. Pry it back. So like I said, if that boot has to come off of the airbox, it is, you never get it back on. And if you do get it on, it don't want to stay on. And my choke cable's still attached, because I couldn't get a wrench in there until I get this thing out the side. And this one ain't really as bad as others. It's just the way it's made. It's like up in here in a weird way. Frame's real tight. Okay, there, I got it popped loose. The exhaust, I noticed, is on a weird side. But maybe if I can get this turned around, because it is a tight fit. I'm trying to keep my head out of the shot here. Gosh dang. Come on now. Oh, I see what's happening. There's something sticking out the side that plugged right in the intake. But I'm gonna pause it. I'll come back on when I get this. Okay, it was a tight wiggle, but I just pushed it back and I was able to squirm it up out of there. Now be careful, watch your eyes. It's gonna be full of gas. You get out, but this and down in there where the little choke knob limiter cold weather thing goes, I don't know, it's got a lever here and a lever up there. I would have just rather had it had the lever on the carburetor, and they wouldn't even jack with a cable, because now that there's a cable involved, they like to oxidize over years, and moisture gets in, and gas, and this happens. If you can see up in there, it is like petrified, and that was all that was wrong with this carburetor. It was actually functioning fine, just the choke was destroyed, and I'm hoping the cable's good. If not, I might have to replace the cable, but I'm thinking the cable's pretty much petrified too, because I can tell now it's pulled. But I'm gonna get the new carburetor out, hook it up, and see if I can put like a knob right here where the choker goes, so it's better than nothing, or see what I can do. I might have a cable, and I'll come back on putting that new one in. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all what comes in this new carburetor, because I gotta pull these parts out, and there's no hope for the choke cable either. I'm gonna have to go grab another one out there in the yard out of the parts. But a lot of times you pull this out and try not to lose that spring I dropped. You'll take a pick. See this button right here keeps the choke from coming up too high. You have to pull it out like that and take the plunger out. I'm gonna grab a pick and I'll show you how to get that out. Okay, I got my pick. It's got a little silicone on it, but you take your pick and see if I can get up here. I'm like trying to use the camera to watch what I'm doing. A lot of times you take the pick, you just poke it in the end of this thing, and it'll come out like that right there. And whatever. What this does is that rubber on the end plugs that little hole down in the bottom. And this, it says on the side, this is for something to do with different temperatures, wintertime or something, keeping the choke from going too far up. I don't know. But alright, I'll get that out. Then you gotta do the stuff in here, because you don't have a cable hooked to it. So you take the cap off. And sometimes if you can pull this thing, and a lot of this aftermarket stuff, this spring right here, I don't like it. It's usually like real hard to mash. It hurts your thumb while you're driving. But a lot of times if it's the same size barrel and everything, you can just pull the cap off the old one and stick it in the new one. But I like everything to be new, so I don't have to worry about it. So I change all the parts so the carburetor matches, you know. And it's like changing spark plugs in your car. You don't want like 3 Champions and the AC Delco or something, but there's that part. And then okay, now the more fun part is getting this stuff off the end of the cable. The way you do that is you have to push it in, and your cable will come out the end like that right there. Take your thumb, push it over, and then it'll come out, and then the spring will come off. Set that to the side in case you ever need it for parts, I guess. And then just pull on that and it'll come off. Then you put all that back in the old carburetor if you ever need a part, or if there's something wrong with this new carburetor, you can take parts out of this one and fix the old one. But okay, I got that off. Now I want to put my new stuff on there. I'm going to check my springs here. I got my 2 springs, my old spring and my new one. I'm going to check it for stiffness. Make sure they're about the same, because sometimes you can get one that's real hard, and these feel exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and put the new one in there. So whatever, I'm going to grab my new spring, my new plunger, and my new cap. So first things first, put the cap on, slide the cable through the little hole, And I noticed it don't have that rubber thing on there, but it'll be hot. It's just a dust cover. Slide that over. Make sure it goes in there, because this one feels a little funny. Slide your spring over, and then you're out to wad the spring all the way up, and grab a hold of the cable. Oh, see, don't do that. But grab a hold of the cable. See if I can get it here. See that slot down the side? It's got that hole at the bottom. You hook it in that hole and flip it in. Let the spring go down inside. Make sure the needle don't raise up, and make sure the throttle moves good, which it does, and it should be good to go. And I'll come back when I'm putting the new carburetor in. Well, here's what I went and got to fix the choke cable problem. This is a piece of old choke cable. It was froze up too. I cut it and oiled it up. So I'm just going to stick this out the side and tie something to the end of it so I can pull it. Just put it down in the carb. And when a new choke cable comes in, I'll just replace the choke cable. And but that ought to work, get me by till I can get a choke cable. It ain't got to pull it about 1/4 inch, you know, like that much. And I'll get that put in there. Like I said, I'll show y'all how to do that. So right here's your choke cap. This is gonna be easy because I can move the cable further than you usually can. So you put that through there, slip the rubber deal over it like that. Normally you put your spring over it like that right there. You take that little piece you pulled out with your pick, and it's got a hole in the side, and you just slip it in the center like this right here. And it's kind of a tight fit on this cable. It's kind of weird. It's like the slot's too skinny. It might be because I'm using a different cable, but it's, you can take these dikes and just spread it just a hair there. I usually take this and you slip it through the hole like that right there. I don't know if y'all can see. Put it in there. I'm going to grind on the end of this one just a little bit to get it to fit in there. But alright, I got it put on there like it's supposed to go. And you know that spring holds the cable in there on the regular model. I'll take that, and you'd put it in the carburetor with down there, whatever. Put it back in the hole. Carburetor directs that way. Make sure this thing's popped out. Put it in there. Screw the nut in. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright, I got my makeshift choke cable on there. That's in there. I'm gonna try to get the carburetor back wiggled up in here. This was a pretty tight fit while ago. And basically I just had to shorten it through all this over here. And I forgot to check if this barrel on the back side was the same size. Yeah, they're the same size. Want to make sure so, if that boot was gonna fit. And man, this thing is a pain right here. There's just very little room. Surprisingly, this rubber ain't all stiff like it usually is. But some of it feels like some of this stuff is soft. I'm gonna pull that one back like that, and get the carburetor oriented in the right direction here. The choke thing I made is really messing me up. I'm gonna go on the other side and see what the hold up is here. It ain't wanting to move. just gotta twist it around the right direction. Get your choke cable. You probably ain't gonna do all this. You might put your choke cable in after you get it in there. Go back to this side. And get it lifted up in the right position. And a lot of times you can take, if you got a big screwdriver, like I got a flathead, or an extension or a wrench or something, just stick it right here in this hole and put it against the back of the carburetor and use it to pry it back up into the motor. Not too hard, you don't want to bust a chunk out of it. And let's see if you can get it pried in there, because it's a tight fit on that intake boot. You might have to grease it. But see, I'm just twisting, wiggle. There it goes. The twist and wiggle method got it in there. Okay. And this hose is kind of hung up. Now you can put your top in. Okay, you see this line right here is going to go away from the idle screw. The idle screw is going to be on this side, so the idle screw always goes to this thing, a little slant. And you line those up pretty close, and it should go straight down in there, no problem. If it's hanging on something, you got a problem, and your throttle's going to be stuck half open, and that's not good. And this one, these slack adjusters right here up from the carburetor, some of them are over there by the thumb thing, and that's where you can adjust if it won't idle down. You can loosen it up or tighten it, whatever you need to do. This one feels good. And now all I gotta do is get this boot back down in here onto the carburetor. It can be a pain sometimes. For the airbox, a lot of times I'll take a screwdriver and just slide around the outside. A flathead works better than a Phillips. And whatever, I'll come back when I get that put in. Alright, I got the boot on there, finally had to wiggle and twist. Okay, for those of y'all that got the four-wheeler that the carburetor's missing, the higher nipple up kind of slanted off to the, if you're sitting on it, it'd be the left. That's the vent. It don't really go to nothing. So don't, if you're worried because there ain't nothing plugged on it, you can plug a hose on it and run it up here higher, but it's just supposed to vent to the air. And okay, the next thing is a little bit further down nipple on the left is the gas, where the gas line goes. The one on the bottom should be the overflow drain, and you shouldn't plug it if it's leaking, because it'll fill the whole motor up with gas, because it's leaking for a reason. It needs to be fixed. But other than that, got it in there. Now we're just going to tighten up our two clamps, get them tightened back up. Let's see here, Phillips, just screw them back in, they're good and snug. And screw them in. You got your vent line. Come on this one with a check valve water stopper thing. It basically is supposed to just kind of hang down. Mine was ran under the exhaust. And kind of just hung down right back here beside where the chain goes in. And it's got another line over here that's like the vent for the gas tank with a metal thing on it. Where my fuel line, I'll plug it up. I can find it. Done got wound up all this shit under here. But you grab it, plug it up in there. I'm actually gonna put this thing underneath the motor arm around here, so it don't be getting on the gear shifter. That way it's out of the way. Alright, put the fuel line up. It's probably going to take a couple cranks to get this thing to crank, because like I said, it has got a fuel pump. It's going to have to sit there and pump fuel all the way up there, and it's a vacuum operated fuel pump. So you might have to hit it with some starter fluid or something. But yeah, tighten up the hose clamps. And get them tightened. And other key things to check if it's been sitting for a while. This hose right here is the crankcase blow-by hose. It does not need to be stopped up. It lets the crankcase pressure out of the engine. If it's stopped up, it'll build up pressure and start blowing oil out the crank seals and all the valve covers and everything, because the pressure just don't have nowhere to go. Okay, that should be on there. Alright, I got the jumper cables hooked up to the truck. I'll see if I can get her to start. I sat there and pulled the rope a couple times. Yeah, I don't like that choke thing, but I'm gonna adjust the throttle cable right there where it goes together, because it's a little bit too tight, and that's why it won't idle down. So I get a little more slack back there, and it should be good. And other than that, like, subscribe, and like I said, a bunch more stuff coming. We'll get out and be driving them next, and crashing and all that. Whatever. Peace out.